Welcome back to Stop Feeling Like Shit. And I'm your host, Daniela Korth, and we're here with Dr. Buzz. And on today's episode, we have our special guest, Dr. Phyllis Russo. And today we're going to be talking about a health journey that propelled a career path. I love that because I feel like my health journey led me to now my new career. So I'm so excited to hear about that. And Dr. Russo, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here and let us talk about your health journey.
Okay. Well, first, I just want to say thank you for both of you. I wish I had a cooler name like Buzz because that would have been cool to introduce me that way. Um, I came back into this to help people. I was so tired of the way I lived. Once I got the clue and once I got the protocols and figured it out, my whole purpose is to make sure that people don't have to go through what I went through. And that's that's my little bio in a nutshell. That's where I started the Dr. Live Well program. And I'm very holistic. I'm medical, I'm scientific, I do research, and at the same time, there's that emotional part, past trauma part, spiritual part that I make sure I incorporate. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. So ask the question again of is that where you want me to start, where my path started?
Yeah, I mean, so what's your background in? Like, first tell us like what your background is and where you started, and then now what led you to this point.
Okay. So here's how it started. Actually, married, small child. He ended up having febrile seizures when he was about 13 months old. Febrile seizure in my arms at Grand Mall. And getting him to the hospital, they diagnosed him as febrile seizures. And all they could do was give him phenobarbital. So you're giving a heavy narcotic to a 13-month-old child, watching him walk around like he's on drugs. And then I just said, there's got to be something more. Well, lucky enough, I lived in Las Vegas at the time. We had a pediatrician that he went to this applied kinesiology chiropractor for his own children. And so he recommended us to go to him. We saved up a little bit of money at that time and went to see him. My son was cured. Healthiest human you ever want to meet. It's still to this day, and he's 42 years old. And that was my start. So I went back to school as an adult.
You knew there was something more there than just traditional medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that I was kind of a Western medicine gal prior to that. So I love the fact that my pediatrician told us about him. And that's really that reality that set in that whatever I was brought up in is really probably not the way to go. Even though there was a sense of arrogance, like, oh, I wish I could be a medical doctor so I could have that, prestige. But the truth is, it's not going to, your prestige is not going to heal anybody. So then I got into a chiropractic practice. I did that for 25 years. And I can't even tell you how many protocols I added to it because if I couldn't find the answer to somebody's illness, I added something else. So I added acupuncture to chiropractics. I added functional medicine. I became a mental health coach and counselor. And then one thing just kept leading to another because even if somebody had a car accident, I'd be like, okay, what was in your mind before it? What was going on in life before it? And you'd be surprised how quick whiplash will heal when you kind of get to even that emotional root cause.
Yep.
And so that kind of brings me to years later. So I did that for many years, 25 years, moved to Dallas, Texas, worked for my son. I said I was kind of tired of that. That was, I hate to say it, when Obamacare came in, and because I had such a specialized practice, it wasn't getting paid for by insurance. And I think the country went through a downhill turn and for economics wise. And so I left. I went to Dallas, worked for my son. And by the way, I was very healthy. I was a runner. I ran half marathons. I worked out pumped iron, did all those things. At 60 years old, I wish you could see a picture of me at 60. I'll have to send it to you at one point. I mean, my hair was full, dark. I think I colored it though, but it was still full and dark. My muscles were showing. I was thin. I was like, you just wouldn't know I was 60 years old. And at that point, I wasn't running as much as working out. And so I'll never forget it. It was November. It was 2017. And I woke up and I'm like, man, I don't think I can work out. My arms were really heavy. My body was heavy. It wasn't really the normal fatigue, but I didn't worry about it yet. I just went, you know what? I'll go work out tomorrow. And
Yep.
tomorrow never came.
Mm.
And for months after that, I didn't have any idea. I left for a while to come to Omaha when my granddaughter was here, stayed at somebody's home. While I was away, my son comes into where I lived. We lived in a high rise towards downtown Dallas. And he goes to get something. It wasn't where he lived, but he goes to get something. And then he goes to the bathroom. He's a tall guy. He's like 6'3". So he's kind of close to the ceiling. And he, out of the side of his eye, looks up and there's freaking mushrooms hanging down. A big, giant black mold and mushrooms hanging down. Now, I had not been there for about a
Wow.
month and a half, I think. So this was all happening while I was gone. But that drip that was there, that had been there for a while. For it to start that, it had been there for a while. So I had gotten sick like 6 months prior to that, but didn't know what it was or why I was getting so ill. So it was the mold exposure.
Yeah.
So it took me, I moved out of there, moved to another city in Texas, another home, did good for a while. The rain started again, and that home started getting a different kind of mold, but I was already just out of it. And found a great doctor, did hyperbaric, a lot of hyperbaric, excuse me, a lot of hyperbaric. I got better, but I was still sensitive every time I got near mold. Even mildew will get me. And then, here's kind of how I got back into where I'm into. I know I'm probably telling a long story, but I realized at the doctor's office, his name is Dr. Alfred Johnson in Richardson, Texas. And he treats mold. He did a couple things for me that changed my life. And one was a test. The first test I took was a genetic liver test. Genova Diagnostics does that one. And it is how you can you conjugate in your liver? Can you get the toxins together and then can you get them out? I had no alleles to create glutathione. None. Zero.
Wow.
Not from either parent. It didn't exist. I don't even know why I wasn't dead
crazy.
by
Wow.
that point. Because I was sick years ago with like a chronic fatigue. Got better, because I take care of myself over the years. And so anyway, but back to that, I started taking really large doses of glutathione. Helped tremendously. Went to a doctor. We both study, and Buzz, I don't know, do you know Dr. Datis Karazian, or have heard of him?
No. No, I'm
He
sorry.
he started out in chiropractic, very much functional medicine, and one of the foremost docs on globally on autoimmune disease. And so I've studied under him years ago. My patients were all Hashimoto's patients years ago, and I didn't even think I was one of them. But I
Wow,
did
that's crazy.
have symptoms. If I look back, I did have symptoms of that. So when I got the diagnosis of Hashimoto's, I got very close with the mold doctor's nurse practitioner, and I said, you know what? Let's try antibodies. Let's see what's going on with my thyroid. I was gaining weight at that point every single day. Nothing was really getting better. A little bit here and there, but not fully. And that's when I got, in 2022, I think it was, I got the Hashimoto's diagnosis, of which I probably have had for over 20 years, I bet. So
Yeah, it's
that's
often
kind of,
misdiagnosed.
say it again?
It's often misdiagnosed. It's a tough one.
Yeah, especially, I know this sounds, I don't know what it sounds like, but especially when you're thin, because we always
Yeah.
kind of put hypothyroid with people who are overweight.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was gaining weight. I mean, towards this point, I started gaining weight. We put that to menopause, we put that to all different kinds of things. And I really think it's thyroid. Like even menopause and estrogens, and what happens during menopause. I really think that if you have a healthy thyroid, you're going to get through menopause just fine.
I agree
Mm-hmm.
with that.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, that's kind of where it brought me to that point of finally getting better. It wasn't perfect. It still took, I say I was on the couch and when I tell you I was on the couch, I was paralyzed. My lethargy, it's like one of those things you don't wish on your worst enemy. It's debilitating. There's shame in it because I've always been kind of a type A personality.
It makes you feel
There's,
lazy.
say it again.
You almost feel lazy or depressed, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's like I know I can do more, but that's what happens because now the depression gets even worse.
hmm
Depression in and of itself is a side effect of the thyroid. All those, especially Hashimoto's, because it's antibodies with with the brain and the antibodies with the thyroid that actually causes depression and anxiety. It's
Mm-hmm.
Which can,
fascinating when you really study the intricacies of Hashimoto's. It's
yeah, and
fascinating.
everything's related to everything else, and that causes stress, which burns your adrenals out, which takes your immune system down in your gut, and then your gut produces a lot of the brain chemistry. So like everything's attached to everything, which is
Mhm.
a lot of people don't understand that, but it just takes one thing, one problem in one system, it can break all the systems down.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way you just said that because when I look at the gut, I would say 90% of it probably starts there
Mm-hmm.
because
I agree with
Hashimoto's
it.
wasn't as prevalent 40 years ago.
Yeah, like all these autoimmune conditions, like if you
Right.
really look, genetically you have Hashim, it's a genetic, you can't rid of it, but a
Right.
lot of people don't suffer with it. But if you have a leaky gut of any type, that's like the gasoline on the fire.
Yes,
So, and
Mm-hmm.
if you don't fix the leaky gut, you're chasing your tail the whole time, if
exactly.
that makes sense.
And
Yeah,
what's
so
interesting, you got to get people to really understand that. I went full force because I could not live that. I was, to be honest, I don't, of course, now I'm saying it to a bunch of people, but I was like, can I whisper it to you? I was suicidal like almost every day. I don't know how I survived on several different levels going through that. Like you
I'm
can't
sure your
get up.
brain chemistry is messed up.
Yeah. And so, I remember my son saying, you need some therapy. And it's like, no, I just need to get off the couch. Somebody get
Yeah.
me off the couch. And so that
It's
was,
hard.
yeah. Well, I know you, and you've been through this, right? Haven't you, Daniela?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was like the same thing. Yeah. I have Hashimoto's too.
It
It's,
was brought on her situation. She had a ton of stress, which burned her adrenals out.
Mm-hmm.
And then we tested her gut. Her gut was a mess.
Mm-hmm.
So then, all the leaky gut led to, basically her genetic disposition to Hashimoto's. So, but you got to fix all the systems. You can't just treat the Hashimoto's. You can't just fix the gut. You really got to handle the adrenals too to make sure your IgG levels are fine.
Mhm.
So, but that combination therapy is very effective.
Yeah. When you say genetics, the genetic predisposition, my mom was always sick, but nobody thought about thyroid and Hashimoto's, which is interesting because she had two sisters that had thyroid cancer.
Wow.
Wow.
Somebody should have looked at my mother that way because she ended up, somebody put her on antidepressants, and that was way before, that was like Valium days or, something like that. But she always was sick. Physically, she was always sick. And it was from that leaky gut. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I look back and I go, God, I wish I knew what I know now to be able to save her in any which way. That,
Yeah, we talk a lot about, we always talk a lot about symptoms, like so many symptoms. Like if you're feeling depressed, like it's something, right? So we always talk about how certain symptoms are actually led to other things,
Mhm.
Mm.
right? Because I mean, I was super depressed, I mean, years ago, and I thought, my God, something is wrong with me. And I was like, I was literally going through it. And then so I went to this doctor and he's like, it was only in there for like 5 minutes. This guy, I drove across town and I started talking to him and I was like crying because I was like, something is wrong with me. I don't feel myself. Because I'm a very type A personality, high functioning person, just like you were saying, always just on the go, 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 go. I mean, people that know me, I was getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, not quit until 10 p.m. at night. And so it was different when I'm over here freaking out, crying all the time. I hate myself. I don't know what's going on. And I could be mad 1 minute, crying the next. I'm like, God, I think I'm depressed, you know? And then go to him, he's like, "You know what? You are depressed and you also have mood swing problems." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know I had mood swing problems, you know?" And so
That's
he's
just
like,
5 minute diagnosis.
yeah, exactly. And so he's like, "Let me get you some pills." And I was like, "Okay." And the issue is that we're so quick to want to feel better. We live in this world that's we can't be messing around. Like we got to feel better now.
Right.
But for me, I've always been a big like, let me read the label and see what it would do to me if I took this pill, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm definitely not taking that one because I like to work out and it could cause all these things with your heart and whatnot. And I was like, but I'll try this other one because it's not too bad, right? And so I started taking the antidepressant and I'm like, oh my God, it made me worse. I mean, I'd have to leave and go sit in my car and I'm like crying and I'm like, hate myself. And I had suicidal thoughts of, and I'm like, I've never thought of killing myself, but now I understand why people do because sometimes that's what happens. And at the end of the day, I don't believe at all I was depressed at all. I believe I had other issues, which I did. I had hormone issues. And then I started hormone replacement therapy. And that was my problem. My hormones were terrible, but no one ever told me that.
Yeah. And
These
they
doctors,
won't.
they don't tell you that. They're just like, yeah, you have issues. You are depressed. You have mood swings. You're this, you're that, you're this,
Here's a
you
pill.
know?
Here's a
And
pill.
yeah,
Here's a
here's a
pill.
pill.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
Well, part of the problem, if you think the average doctor visit in the US is about 7 minutes,
yes.
you can't really diagnose someone in 7 minutes. I mean, in our practice, a new patient, like a new functional medicine patient, that's like almost like an hour. But by the time you talk to them and look at the labs and like do everything, I mean, it's a lot of time. But that's what you have to do to find the root cause. And there's no cookie cutter. It's not everyone gets the same thing. Like every person's an individual. Everyone has Andy Barlow. I don't know if you know Andy. I think he broke it down. Everyone has a code, and the code for every lock is different. You can't put the same combination in every lock and expect it to open. So the testing gives you what's wrong, and then you can decipher the code from the testing. But if you don't have the testing, you can't get the code, and you sure can't get it talking to someone for 5 minutes.
Well, you know what? And another thing is, the other problem is, though, is that when I think about that time, this was before I met Buzz, I didn't know any of this stuff. And so this is why it's so important to us, like for you to be on here, for other people to be on here, is to provide this education to people because when I think back to myself, I never knew sitting there it was my hormones. I didn't even know that was a possibility. I didn't even know that your hormones could be jacked up like that. And so I feel like a lot of people are like what I was, they're just sitting around their house or sitting around wherever they're going through it and they're just like, no, I am depressed or, I need to go see my doctor. I need this pill. And this is the only thing that will make me better. But no, there's all these other things that we're talking about today, this testing, functional medicine, like people that are really trying to figure out the root cause of why you feel the way that you do, why you feel like shit, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I get to
Okay, so
curse because
I'm sorry.
stop feeling like shit. I get to curse on the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, you do. You could have said the S word.
I really like the
Okay,
other
so
one, just so you know, that might slip out too. I hope nobody minds.
that's him sometimes.
Uh,
He might say the F word, you never know. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so you start taking a lot of glutathione and then you have this autoimmune now, and the mold thing's going on. So then what?
Well,
You start taking peptides.
yeah, I was just going to say, I'm forgetting that part. So I traveled down to Stewart, Florida, where my friend, we're both do the functional medicine. but she has added peptides. So she coupled with an MD and a nurse practitioner. And so she gave me BPC 157, beta 4, and the alpha 1. I don't know if those are
Yep.
legal now, which they were phenomenal. So I don't know if they got taken off the market. But, anyways, that was one of the bigger changes, upping my glutathione to just loading degrees, making sure that my liver was healed, the tissue was good. So there's another product through Apex Energetics that I used. But then it was truly the peptides, and it was sort of and I committed to being gluten free. And so I actually was grain free. I started doing everything more carnivore, more keto, that sort of thing. And every day it was kind of interesting because it was up and down. Like one day I'd feel better than I felt in the 8 years. And then one day I was like, oh, F. If I literally don't know if I can talk without saying that word. And then the next day it was like, I'm back where I was. And so that would go on for a while, but then I was able to even start working out a little bit. But what I was going to say about the peptides is I started getting a needle aversion. And every time I had to
Mm.
put the needle in me, it was getting more and more difficult. And I was even having a small reaction. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. And so I stopped, and I actually did just fine for a while without the peptides. But I really had to move out of that home. And that was
Mhm.
one of the other next changes that I went through. So I moved to this area, I moved to this new home, and was feeling great again until a certain point again where rains happened again. As much as I love rainy weather, it just somehow that mildew starts coming in the house, and so I wasn't feeling as good. And then I think it was even the time that I met you guys or heard about Push Patch, and that's when I started taking the NAD again. So that was last year. So again, I've been doing much better with my protocols, with working this system. And because of that, that's when I actually started my program. But I'm gonna get to that in a sec because I want to get back to the Push Patch because I was already putting together my Dr. Livewell program, which was designed primarily for Hashimoto's and really doing what you're doing right now, which is I want to freaking educate the world on this. But the push patches are interesting because I started with the NAD plus, and my
Yep.
energy was still kind of wavering. I'll tell you a situation. Oh, I should have brought like a piece of paper. So just pretend I have a piece of paper. I was seeing a therapist at the time because I was still kind of going back into that depression.
Yep.
Still wasn't, I was back and forth again with some of the energy. So I said, you know what, I need to get through this. Went through a therapist. Poor guy, he was like a therapist in training. And I like, we loved being with each other, but I still wasn't feeling all that great. And then one day he gives me like a regular piece of paper, right? He puts it on its side and he shows me a line. And on this side, the line is when a woman is born, when a person's born. And on this side is when on average, a woman dies, and it's age 83. And he goes, okay, where are you? I'm like, shit, I've got like an inch and a half left of life. And for some reason, that was that moment where I
Wow.
said, okay, I got to stop this bullshit. I've got to stop feeling like I don't want the next day to come. I've got to stop. And I said, you know what? If I don't have a lot of life to live, what I want to do again is run. I hadn't run for like 7 or 8 years. And there was a 5K coming up for Thanksgiving, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to do my best. And I started training, but it was the NAD plus that push patch that helped my energy come back that much more. So that's
Yep.
how, so I ended up doing a 5K. First time I ran like competitively in about 8 years. And I did good.
Great.
What's
That's awesome.
really funny, I mean, I'm an old broad, but what's really funny is I ended up in fourth place in my division. So I'm like, Well, okay,
Yeah.
that's pretty
That's
good.
awesome.
So that's kind of,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got to
that's
that
great.
part. But I do want to talk about, you ask any question, but eventually I do want to talk about the program and kind of how, how it came to be and how important I think it is for everybody to just get educated. So, I mean, I can talk about it or you can ask me a question, whatever you want, Daniela.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, I love the fact, like, and for 1 second, people that are like, what's Push Patch? Very quickly. Um, Basically, it's a company where we took a iontophoresis patch and we are putting peptides that have very short half-lives on the patch. So NAD plus has a very short half-life. So instead of getting IVs, which take hours, I mean, 3.5, 5.5 hours as a
People
slow
get
drip because it's so
nauseous.
harsh on the mitochondria.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
people,
then like you said, you were injecting yourself all the time, and then it's like, "Okay, I'm sick of injecting myself." And sometimes I go through that too. It's like, "Dude, if I have to inject my stomach one more time, like, I'm just over it," you
yeah,
know? And so it's so much easier to wear a patch and you get more out of it. Yeah? And
yes,
so, you tried the BPC 157 patch?
as
Did you try
well.
that one in
Yeah, yeah,
particular
yeah.
too? Okay.
And I don't know if I mentioned that, I'm giving you some information, but about me, but between that and the NAD plus, so I also had, I mean, I'm a mess. I also had a diagnosis of ulcerative colitis, or either that
Oh,
or
wow.
Crohn's. I'm not even sure. But remember, I've had leaky gut probably for the last 20 years because I think
Long time.
I had Hashimoto's that long. And I've had gut problems forever. Anyways, within a week, actually, of the NAD plus, um, I my ulcerative colitis went away, and it hasn't come
Wow.
back.
Yeah, it's really good for endothelial lining.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great. I love that.
and the BPC 157, the same thing. So those are the two that I probably do the most. They've worked just amazing for me, and I have a newfound love for iontophoresis. It's like, okay, what else can
Yeah.
can we put through a patch and not have a needle going in you? So yeah, the push patch has been quite amazing for me.
Well, that's why we start doing so obviously we do KPV because, it's really good for autoimmune.
Hmm.
And another thing is too is we do glutathione in the push patch. So because the half-life of glutathione is like 15 minutes. And so we do that in the push patch.
Yeah.
So, you want to say anything?
No, but well, glutathione is good for hangovers too.
Oh yeah, true. It is. Okay.
Not that
All
we're
right.
promoting that.
Okay, so
I will tell you, because of my liver stuff, I really no longer, I mean, I was always just an occasional drinker anyway, but I
Yeah,
decided I don't want to stress my liver anymore than it's been
yeah, it's probably not
stressed
a good idea.
the
right.
last so many years. Yeah. So I just don't do that anymore.
Okay, so we talked about, kind of your journey. And then now, because of your journey, now it led you to creating this program, which I love the name, by the way. It's a really good name. And so tell us about this and what it is and what it does. Just, yeah,
So
tell us about it.
I again, my decision was I'm sick and tired of the way I've been treated and not getting the answers, and I'm going to do whatever I can so people don't have to go through what I went through. I collaborated with a wonderful designer, and we spent 9 months putting together about 7 hours worth of video. We do exercises,
Mhm.
some meditation, but most of it is about education. Like, let's know our body. Let's know what the thyroid does. Let's know why foggy headed is happening. Let's know what's going on with the gut. And so there's a good portion of really understanding leaky gut. People have heard it, but they don't have a full understanding of it. And because I tend to talk in big words, my collaborator just made it much more understandable. And I
Mhm.
love the way she did it. So everybody who's taken the program already, I'll always ask it, you sure it's not, do you understand it? And everybody does. So that's number one. And then we've got like 50 or 60 PDFs in there, like in our file
Mhm.
program. And you can just pick anything out of education, of what kind of cookware you would use, how, because there's so many plastics, and we talk about
Yep.
a lot about that, the BPAs and even the non-BPA plastics. And everybody, I mean, it's amazing when you look and they go, really? Yeah, who knew? Sometimes locally, I'll go to the grocery store with somebody and say, okay, no, don't eat this, eat this. Don't eat this, eat this. So I am, and there's also a part of the program that I'm one-on-one. And I do lab work. I do lab work. I make sure we have a lab interpretation for that. I make sure we do it again in 6 months' time. It's a 6-month program. But if it has to
Mm.
be a year, if somebody has a large amount of weight to lose, then I'll do something. So I do all different things, but that sort of that high-end program is you get me every week. And the one thing I haven't talked about yet is through my years of saying, hey, I want to do this for healing, I want to do that, I actually moved to Malta. And I don't know if I told you that or if I wrote that down.
Oh,
I lived in Malta in 2011 and 2012. I retired from my business. And again, that was kind of during whatever the Obamacare was, the federal care. And I just couldn't make it anymore. And I was tired of dealing with it. So I left it. Moved to Dallas. And then somebody asked me, hey, can you take over my chiropractic practice in Malta? And of course, the first thing I
wow.
had to do was double check where it was in the world. And then I went, yeah, it sounds good to me. I'll go on the rock. And so I lived there in 2011, 2012, and I practiced. But Malta has these amazing temples. And for whatever reason, it just led me to learning to be a shaman and looking at that very ancient healing. And so I drum. I have my drums behind me. I sing into the drum. I chant. I speak ancient languages as well. And all of it is it's like an extraordinary healing that's sort of added to, okay, don't eat your gluten. And oh, by the way, let's do a journey. Like, let's get deep into this healing, which works on that cellular level as well. And then I
Wow, that is
made it,
cool.
yeah. Oh, you guys would love it. We should do a drum meditation. I actually just did one where there was quite a few people here in the city where I worked with sound bowl healers. So I had 3 sound bowl healers as well as myself going through while everybody was lying down on their mats and just sort of soaking it in at that time. So I love adding that. It's such a great addition to what I do.
That's really cool.
That
So
is
this
awesome.
program is it's designed not only for Hashimoto's, it's designed for all autoimmune. It's designed even for people who don't have a clue what they have.
Mm-hmm.
Because it might not even have a name. But if you're foggy headed, if you're gaining weight, if you can't lose weight, if you're lethargic, if you're gut issues, if you're depressed, if you're anxious, like I can name a millions. If you're osteoporotic, do you know I was osteoporosis, not penia, but porosis in my 40s,
Wow.
late 40s. And that's when I look back, I go, oh my God,
Something's wrong.
I bet I have Hashimoto's, or I bet I did, but I didn't. It was my specialty, Hashimoto's, and I didn't think I had it. It's crazy.
Wow.
Anyway, so, but the program is wonderful. I do those Wednesday night webinars so that people just sort of get a taste of it and get to meet me. Those are always free for anybody who wants it. Then we have a couple different consultations. One is that you're the one that takes about an hour and a half, where if they have labs, I'll go through them. I do a metabolic assessment survey. They fill that out. Um, Either one, though, is that next one. Anybody who's on your podcast, I offer that for free. All of a sudden, I forgot the code on that one. Peak performance is the
Okay.
code to get it
Cool.
for free.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. But I just want the word out there. Like I want everybody to be healthy. I'm so freaking tired of people being sick.
Yeah. I mean, and I love that. And I see you on TikTok. And so people can find you. You're always giving out information on social media, right? And do you primarily go on TikTok or where?
No, I actually just started that. Again,
Okay.
I'm like, I'll be 68 this year.
Yeah, but the
Couple
68 is
months.
so
Anyway,
young.
so I'm actually more on, I mean, I've been on Instagram for a long time.
Okay. Okay.
And Facebook, not as much. Instagram's like my favorite, but now I'm on TikTok as well. So yeah, so I'm there. I even have a Pinterest account too. So I gotta kind of look at that a little bit more, but people can find me in several places. And I have a YouTube channel as well.
Okay, I love that too. Yeah, I love YouTube, and I think YouTube is really helpful in people like that. I like TikTok the best because I feel like you get people to engage more. Like once you really start getting that audience and they start to know who you are, they really start to engage. It's like a huge community,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I noticed about it. So I really I mean, Instagram and Facebook is hard for me. Social media in general is hard for me,
Oh, me too.
but I feel like TikTok is like a YouTuber almost. It's like people are watching, they're listening. Even if people aren't saying anything, they're still watching, they're still listening,
Yeah.
you know? And then all you need is like that one person, and I'll post something and I'll be like, is anyone even paying attention? Because I want people to pay attention. You want
Right.
really, really hard, like our podcast, we want people so hard to listen, to be like, listen, I know you feel like crap. Like, I know you're bloated every single day of your life. I know you can't sleep. I know you have no energy. I know you're drinking 19 Red Bulls a day. You're drinking 45 cups of coffee. Like, I know you feel like crap.
Mhm.
Like, I need you to listen to this. And it's hard to, I don't know. So I feel like more people like us just putting the word out there in a different way. Like, I love Dr. Livewell. That's like great. So I'm really excited for you, and I'm excited for what you put together because it's going to help a ton of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
That's what I'm looking
So,
forward to. And I do that
yeah.
every day. Like that's my purpose is just and that sounds silly. Like it sounds like I'm making up that crap, but it sounds like crap. Like, oh, I just want to help people. But honestly, I've been in a state of service for years. And
Hmm.
I can't imagine anything else like that. I saw it could have been on TikTok, but I think it was on Instagram, where somebody came out with, okay, I want you to tell me you, but you can't tell me what you do. You can't tell me where you were born. You can't tell me your religion. And she kind of goes on and on and on. And the only way you can answer yourself, like who you are, is simply your soul. And I thought,
Hmm.
man, that was
Yep.
fascinating. Like, who am I? And truly, I've lived this life that I enjoy the hell out of by being in service to others.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like it's bullshit, but it just isn't. It's like that's kind of cool that I became that way. I'm good with that.
Yeah, it's so weird because, like, well, with me, like, I was always wanted to be in healthcare somehow,
Mhm.
right? I thought I was going to be a nurse actually growing up because my grandma was in nursing. And then for some reason, when I got to like my 20s, and I like, if someone was hacking, I was like gagging. And I was like, wait a second, I can't even be around people hacking, like even blowing their nose. I like want to throw up. And I was like, I don't think this is going to work out for me. I was like, actually, it's not going to work out for me.
Eh,
So even though I was like, okay, I still want to help somehow people feel better or look better because I was really into fitness and stuff. And then I went like a 360 and I got into real estate title insurance. So I was helping people like, buy their first homes or sell their house or go through this emotional roller coaster with all this other stuff. And then I ended up obviously getting stressed out of my gourd and then having all these health issues. And then that's what like, led me to helping him with all of these businesses that we have and helping people. And then I feel like it was never enough for me. Like all the things that we do, with our companies, that's like wasn't enough. It's like, what else can we do to help people feel better? Because that's really what we want to try to do is help providers provide better patient care where people can feel better. And then that's the thing too, is a lot of providers, it's like we talk to providers every day and nurse practitioners, and it's like, how about you try this, do that? And that's what I love too. It's like not only are we helping giving this free education to people around us, even when I hear somebody say something, or I'll be watching a video on Instagram, or I'll see a post on Facebook and somebody will talk about, they'll be posting something about PCOS or whatever, and then I have to chime in. I have to say, "Have you tried hormone replacement therapy? Have you tried, a GLP-1? Like, have you tried this? Have you tried this?" And then they'll say, "Oh, that made me really sick." Well, it made you sick because you have gut issues, right? The GLP-1 made you super sick because you probably have leaky gut. Like, you probably have a gut problem. So I really love that about what you're trying to do too, because that's what it's all about. I feel like we're put here on this earth for some reason, and I think it's like to help people, like honestly, serve people,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I don't want to get all religy, but seriously.
Yeah, I like that word, religion. I absolutely agree. I think the only frustration I have is that not everybody sees the importance of this, because this world is so toxic that if
Yeah,
they're feeling okay now, I'm telling you, it's not going to last.
right.
Right.
And so really do something to mark your life as a better life. So that's my frustration though. Is not I want everybody to listen. I get that. People won't. I get people do it in their own time. Um, I get people will just do their drugs every, okay, the doctor tells me this and I'll take it until they're so sick that they finally, I mean, that's the only bad part about us, Buzz, is that when we
Talk
see
about it.
people, yeah, when we see people, we see them at their wits' end, at their end. And
Yep.
it's like, God, if I caught you 20 years ago, you wouldn't be in this situation.
My gosh, we talk about that all the time. We talk about people where I that's literally, I was talking, I did a post on TikTok, right? About what we do and why we do things and blah blah blah. And then somebody like commented and said, well, I work out every day, I eat healthy and all this other stuff. And I'm like, it doesn't matter because I worked out every single day. I eat good foods every single day. I took my supplements too. And guess what? It still happened to me,
Yeah.
right? I mean, stress is one thing that I always say it's a silent killer and it will get you. And that's what it did to me. So when people are like, yeah, but I don't need that stuff because I work out every day and I eat good foods already, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh no, like it will get you. And then guess what? When it does, and I tell people, you're already down this path so far and then now you're coming to us and it's not going to change overnight. You have to work really hard. And sometimes it's a process. Like you said, your program is 6 months, sometimes a year, right?
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's what we tell people. You're not going to take these natural supplements, right? Good supplements and start changing your I call it nutritional protocol. Like I hate saying diets because I feel like
Yeah.
diets mentally screw people.
Right.
But you got to start changing the way you eat your foods and then it's not going to happen in 1 day or 2 days or 3 days or 5 days. I mean, you think about all the hell you put your body through over all these years, right? Right? And all these things, the toxins in our environment. And I was just telling somebody this. I'm telling you, you repeat yourself all the time and you're preaching to the world about it. And so do we. And I'm over here preaching to the world about it on the phone, talking to people. And even some of my best friends, I'm like, huh? I'm like, I told you what to do, you
Yeah.
know?
Oh, they're the
What
worst.
yeah, they're the worst. I'm like, "I literally told you what to do." I'm like, "What is wrong with you?" You know? And I'm like, "And now we're at this point, because you didn't listen to me the first time, and now we're here, and
Yeah.
now this is what we have to do, and now it's gonna take longer." So, yeah,
I love how you say it because that's how I sound. Really? What did I tell you, 3 months ago? So
I know.
I
That's the
don't
thing.
mince, I will say I don't mince words. I have a kind and gentle spirit. It doesn't always come out in my words, um, but yeah, I mean, I can be a little bit, I really have an understanding because throughout all these years of being with patients, there are times where it's like, okay, you've got to look at this one with really deep kindness, right? And you've got to speak to them that way. And then there are others that you go, really? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
didn't I tell you that? Okay, now we're here. Okay, now, are you going to
Yeah.
listen to me now?
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
So,
Right.
yeah,
Happens all the
so I
time.
totally
Well,
get that.
I'm so glad that we had you on today because I know that I think I talked to you for the very first time. I answered the phone. It was late and we started
Yeah,
talking about push patch, and then we
yeah,
got to why. you wanted to try it, and then we went on into your journey about, everything. So it's just crazy how what happens in life and how it brings people together,
Yeah.
really. And so I'm excited about your program, and I want you to tell people where they can find you and how they can
Oh,
contact
yes.
you.
Yeah.
So
All
tell
right.
us where they
I
can do
probably
that.
should put it in the chat, but
I
I'll give
will.
it to you guys however you put it out there. But so the Wednesday night webinar is, we might be changing the name, but we'll keep it there for a while. It's hashimotoswarrior.com/webinar.
Okay.
Okay.
The main place is dr-livewell.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, and dash, the hyphen.
Yeah.
Um, and that one you can almost access just about everything. You can even access the Wednesday night webinar, but there's videos right there. There's a wonderful 40-minute video that I recommend for anybody to see. And that's on dr-livewell.com. Go there, just get your name in there. I'll talk to you personally. I'm all about me and you. And so, and whatever you have to say or just, I'm there for you. So dr-livewell.com is the place to go. Hashimoto's Warrior.com/webinar. You can get to it a couple different ways. I'll give you those two, and that'll be it. And you can honestly, I give out my personal number too, my phone number. Just like you,
So do we.
Yeah.
yeah,
So we.
just like
We
you and
do
I
too.
talked. It's the same. Everybody, don't call me, but text me. I'm all about texting first because I never know if I'm around the phone or
Who
not.
you're
But if you
right.
want, I can give that. I don't care. I'll give that as well. I don't know if it's a crazy thing to do, but 314-409-6509. That's my personal number. So,
Awesome.
Wow, that's great.
um,
Well,
let me
is
say
there
before,
anything that you
I,
wanna
I do want to say one
Yes,
thing
I
to
was gonna
you.
tell you.
I love your TikTok. And
Thanks, I
it's so
appreciate that.
it's so great because I don't think people realize your journey and how you got to what you're doing, showing off, all your wigs. It sort of makes me think of Schitt's Creek and how she named all of hers. And I'm so tempted because I mean, believe it or not, this is a good hair day. Um, but I am so tempted to get my first wig because
Yeah,
you've made it okay, you've made it fun for me. And I think when there's so many thyroid people out there, so many Hashimoto's, hypothyroid or cancer people, whatever, that you've made it fun and you've made it exciting, and I love that about you. So
thank you.
anyways, I wanted
I
to share
appreciate
that
that.
with you.
Well, obviously, I encourage you to get a wig because I'm gonna be real. Number one, it's like, how fast can I get ready? I've always been about that. Like, what can I do in my life to get ready the fastest, right? Because I'm
Ooh.
like, let's go, let's go.
Uh-huh.
So, like, for me, it's like, okay, bobby pin the real hair, like, the little I have left, whatever.
Mm.
And then I'll just throw in a wig. Now, that's what the part sometimes now that takes the longest because I have so many. So I'm like, who am I trying to be today? Who do I feel like today, right? And it's just really fun. I like it. It's fun. You never know. Like, we go on date night and we go to the same restaurant every week, and I'll be walking in there and they'll be like,
Good.
"Wow, I like your hair." I'll be like, "Thanks." And then they'll be like, "Wait, you changed your hair again, you know?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, I did." And they just don't have a clue. People don't even know you're wearing a wig. And so I was extremely embarrassed, for the longest time because I thought, "My God, I'm not old." I thought it was such an older thing to be wearing
Right.
wigs and it was embarrassing. And now I'm just like, I don't even care. Like, I don't care. People dream of having all these different hair colors and lengths and whatever.
Yes.
And now I just don't care. I'm like, I used to pay 4 grand to get my hair done every 3 months to have extensions down to my butt crack. But
Mm.
then I'd want to cut it off a week later. So, I support you. I think you should buy the wig. And you know what?
Okay.
Honestly, yeah, I mean,
It's
seriously,
an
just
addiction, though. We have a room full of wigs now. So
Yeah, the good news is
does she know she sees my TikTok?
oh, I know, I watch it all the time. It's just for a while it wasn't coming up, algorithms, and I'm like, wait a minute, where is she? So I
Yeah,
had
the
to go back
algorithm.
out and seek you out again. But um, yeah, I mean, I do have a thing about it. Now I do have a fear. Tell me about this and tell me how you can work me through this. if I start using them, I'm afraid of my whatever I do have left, it'll get worse. Like it won't have, the air to breathe, that sort of thing.
No, because you're not, I don't wear wig caps. So right now, I just threw this wig on my head,
Hmm.
but you're not damaging your bio hair at all. And
Okay.
so actually, if anything, you probably are helping your hair, right? Grow. And so because why? I don't wash my hair as much. I might wash my hair maybe once or twice a week, right?
Hmm.
I don't use any products on my bio hair at all, so nothing. I just let it go. And so I just wear the wigs all the time, but it's not harming my hair. And
Okay.
so you don't need to worry about that. It's not doing anything.
Okay.
So,
I
yeah.
I needed
Yeah.
to hear
Not
that.
at all. Yeah. And I do get asked that a lot. Like, aren't you concerned that, the wig is rubbing or like it's
Yeah.
gonna make your natural hair fall? I'm like, absolutely not. You know, I always I buy wigs from different brands and stuff, and I'm always looking at the quality of the wig. But you can also wear a wig cap if you want, which most people do, and they just put all their hair under the wig cap, but they wear wig grip. And but yeah, no, it's totally fine.
Okay, well, you'll have to give me the real like ins and outs of it, and then I'll
Yeah.
I'll try my first one. So,
Yeah. It's fun.
but
You'll
like
like
I
it.
said, when
So
I have hair like
I
this,
appreciate
'cause
you
this
being
is
on the podcast.
this is natural. So, but like I said, it's been humid. So,
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
sorry.
You'll
Thank you.
still
I
get
know I took
no,
us off our
you're
game,
totally
but I
fine.
think it's part of it, though.
It is. So, I'm excited that you were on here. Thank you for joining our show.
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to put out I thought this was a great episode.
Yeah.
I am super excited for people to hear this because so many people are suffering with Hashimoto's. They don't even know it because some symptoms all run together, like we just said. So, if you're listening to this podcast today, in this episode, and you're like, you know what, I probably have a thyroid problem because, you're gaining weight, you can't lose weight, you have brain fog, you're bloated, you're this, you're that, definitely ask us questions and also check out Dr. Livewell's program. So
Yep.
if you have questions, you can reach out to us, DM us, and Dr. Livewell,
Thank you guys
thank
so
you
much.
so much. Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
really appreciate your time.
Thank
So
you.
until we meet again.
Sounds
Bye.
wonderful.
Yeah.